The National High School football qualifiers are taking place between Ichinan High School and Matsukeis High School, with the current score being 0-1. Yuichi Izuji is the one with the ball, contemplating whether to pass or shoot the goal himself. He decides to pass the ball to his teammate Tada, who then failed to make a goal. The other school is having a counter with Ryusuke Kira as the lead player. He manages to score a goal, making the score 0-2, making his team the winner. Tada apologizes to his team for not making the goal. Meanwhile, Kira is being interviewed about how he felt being able to play for Japan's under-18 national team. Kira responds that he's got his sights of winning the nationals with his team and says that the reason for his success was having a capable team he could rely on. Izuji's coach made a closing speech for his team, devastated by the loss. The coach cries while giving his advice to remember the defeat but don't think of it as meaningless but instead to remember it. He then declares that his team is still the best in Japan. While saying this, in Izuji's mind, they are just a team that fell one step short of playing at nationals. After the match, when Izuji is on his way home, he suddenly thinks of Noel Noah and tells himself that he will never be a great hero like him. He then reminisces his childhood days watching Noel Noah play and being inspired by him to play football. He imagined what would have happened if he was the one who kicked the ball, how his fate would have changed. He then says to himself that what-ifs are pointless in football and they didn't lose because he chose for team play and talks that football is a sport played with 11 people. He then shouts and cries because he wanted to win. Izuji arrives home and his mother tells him that he had gotten a letter from the Japan Football Association for a player improvement project. The next day, Izuji arrives at the Japan Football Union building and encounters Kira. Kira tells Izuji that he remembered the other since he was quite a player and had an impressive field perspective and high football IQ. Upon opening the entrance, they saw many players also waiting in the area. A man begins his speech and tells the players that they are chosen based on his criteria alone, and proceeds to introduce himself as Junpachi Ego and his job is to make Japan a team capable of winning the World Cup. He said that he will forge the best striker in the world among the 300 under-18 forwards he chose, and in order for him to achieve that, the Blue Lock facility was created. He then states that all players will live in the building and will strictly follow his regimen and that their careers are over. Ego further emphasizes that if anyone manages to defeat all 299 players and be the one remaining, the last player standing will become the best striker in the world. Shocked by what Ego said, Kira responds that their current teams are their priority and he cannot accept those terms mentioned. All the other players agreed. Ego then responds and asks them if they would rather be a high school champ than becoming the best striker in the world. He then tells the players that he cringes at the look of Japan's future in their hands. Japan may be the best in organizational skills in football, but in everything else, they are second-rate. Ego then asks the players what is football to them, a sport where you try to score goals in teams of 11 players, and proceeds that thinking is wrong. He then tells that football is a sport about scoring goals even at the expense of your teammates. The best player is the one that scores the most goals. Kira responds and tells Ego that what he said was insulting players like Honda, Kagawa, and others that shaped Japan's national lineup, and the value of team play instilled is the same for them. Ego then mocks the mentioned players as the squad that has yet to win a single World Cup. He then mentions Noel Noah, Eric Cantona, and Pele as revolutionary strikers, but their extraordinary egoism is what Japan lacks. He then plays a scenario wherein the hopes of all Japan lie in their shoulders. He then states that if they want that rebellious egoism, then they should step through the gate. He then says his last message that football is a sport to develop the players as strikers and think of literally everyone as supporting them, and tells them to throw away their common sense because, in football, they are a star. After hearing Ego's words, which made Izuji shivered, he decides to step through the gate. The other players also step through the gate with the hopes of becoming the best striker. Izuji is on a bus on the way to the Blue Lock facility. Upon arriving, they were given uniforms with a number and letter by Anri. Izuji is given the number 299 letter Z. The Z states their respective rooms. Izuji then enters the facility and goes to his respective room. Upon opening, he learned that it is a shared room. Kira calls out Izuji, tells him that he is relieved to see a familiar face. A shirt then hits Izuji's face. Upon removing it, the player apologizes to Izuji and tells him to be careful of stepping. Izuji then finds a sleeping player on the floor. Izuji then changes into his uniform. A player named Girumu Igarashi, a second-year forward, introduces himself to Izuji and Kira. Igarashi then tells them that he was born in a temple and has a promise with his old man to make Igarashi no inherit the temple if he became a pro player. Igarashi reveals that he was pumped up by Igo's speech. After talking, Igo appears at a screen stating that everyone in the room will be each other's roommates and rivals. He then reveals that the number attached is their ranking among the 300 players in the blue lock. Their ranking will change based on several factors like going up and down based on the training or the results of their game, and unconditionally. The top 5 players will participate for Japan's under-20 national team for the World Cup, and those defeated will be permanently barred from the team. He then tells them that they are looking for Igo, and it will be the ones measured in the facility. Igo then announces a game, tag, where the time limit is 136 seconds and whoever is it, when the timer runs out, will be removed from the team. The first it is the lowest among the team, which is Igarashi. Igo explains that tag is just one of many exercises prop players warm up with and the egoism test that he will provide great insight on selfishness behind the strikers. The timer starts. While Igarashi has the ball, a player talks to him if he really believes what Igo said about Japan's under-20. Igarashi replies that he doesn't know for sure, but he'll do it because if he loses, he will come back to the temple and be a monk. Igarashi then decides to target Izuji, which is only one rank higher than him, but Izuji manages to dodge the attack. The other players run away. Kira then voices out that there's no way pros train like this and the reason he entered Blue Lock is to reject Igo's ideology. He then further tells that trying to stake their football careers on a 2-minute play of tag is screwed up and affirms that he cannot let Igo destroy his future. While listening to Kira's thoughts, Izuji thinks about his goal to run away and not to get hit. While failing to hit anyone, Igarashi spots a sleeping guy and decides to change his target. Upon kicking the ball, Gurimu was kicked at the face by the player. The player was then approached by another player and tells him that he hates dirty play and to play fair and square. The player, which reveals to be Kunigami, rank 291, was hit by the ball and is now the it. Igarashi uses Izuji to defend himself, resulting in Izuji being hit by the ball. Only 1 minute and 3 seconds left. Izuji became the third it. Izuji then tries to attack but fails to hit anyone. After failing to hit anyone, he decides to attack Igarashi, which is the lowest ranked player. Only 50 seconds left. Izuji still chases Igarashi. Izuji still hasn't hit anyone and tells himself that he doesn't want to end it like this and let his dream end. The player who hit Igarashi calls Izuji's attention while restraining Kunigami, giving Izuji a chance to attack Kunigami while arm-locking him. Kunigami throws him, resulting in him hitting Igarashi. After that hit, Igarashi strained his foot and cannot move. Kira then shouts at Izuji and tells him to take the shot. Igarashi is begging Izuji to spare him and apologizes for aiming at Izuji earlier. Izuji stops at his tracks, thinking his next steps that if he tags Igarashi, he can win, but it will end Igarashi's career. He struggles to make a decision but decides that if he doesn't do it, he will lose. As for him to accomplish his dreams, he needs to destroy the dream of other. Izuji is planning to kick the ball towards Igarashi. 15 seconds left. Izuji stops and decides to attack those higher than him. After the decision of sparing Igarashi, Izuji decides to attack others, but Meguro, rank 290, steals the ball from him. 10 seconds left. He decides to go for Kira. 8 seconds left. Kira managed to dodge the attack. 7 seconds left. Meguro tries to attack Kira with his leg but also dodges it. 5 seconds left. Kira runs away and Meguro hits the ball towards Kira's direction. 4 seconds left. The ball is coming towards Izuji's direction. 3 seconds left. While concentrating the ball, he kicks the ball and it hit Kira's face. The timer reaches 0, making shocked. Kira asks Izuji what he had done. Izuji, also in shock, apologizes to Kira and tells him that the ball came so fast. The game is over. Igo then appears again at the screen and declares that Kira is expelled. Shocked and angry by the result, Kira confronts Igo, stating that he's throwing away the future of Japan and tells him to expel Igarashi or Izuji instead. Kira then asks what's the point of the game and tells that tag is not football. Igo replies that everything they do at Blue Lock is related to football and tells Kira to look at his environment. He then tells that the room is the exact same proportions as the penalty area and stating that 75% of goals are scored from that area and it is a striker's domain. He also said that if one cannot survive under those conditions, they are not qualified to be strikers. Kira then replies that tag has nothing to do with football. Igo replies that a skill required by the fleeing side is tactical awareness or positioning. As for the pursuer, what they need is not only accurate dribbling but precision to make shots, and that's what is optimal in football training. Kira angrily tells that he can't expect to know all that stuff in under 2 minutes and that football lasts more than 90 minutes. Ego replies that an average time a player possesses a ball during a match is about 136 seconds, and they were given the exact same opportunity in the tag game. Kira is still confused and tells Ego what he expects him to do in just 10 seconds. Ego replies if that is what he would say if it is a real match. Kira was then expelled from the team. Stunned, Kira wasn't able to give an answer. Ego then replays the scene and tells Kira that he has 1 second left to survive, either shooting it at injured Igarashi, and yet he wasted his chance. Ego then tells an imaginary scenario wherein he is in the middle of the match, standing in a penalty area. His teammate's shot didn't reach the goal and hits his body. When this happens, he already gave up, but he didn't notice that by sheer luck the ball falls before him, and if he had just tapped the ball, he would be saved from his own mistake. Ego then tells that the one who is it in the tag, the one who has the ball, decides who they want to win but also gets to decide who they want to lose, and that a striker carries all responsibilities on his back and the one who keeps on attacking until the very second. He then mentions Izagi, who instead aimed for injured Igarashi, chose to defeat those that are higher than him, and Bachira with the initiative to aim for the strongest player are perfect examples of people who rather do what's best for their team, had the tenacity and courage to pursue their own will. And that's the egoism Ego is looking for. Ego then expels Kira. Kira still cannot believe he is out. Izagi calls him, but Kira gives him an angry look and proceeds to leave the facility. Izagi still thinks why he hit Kira and looks at Bachira. He then approaches him and asks the reason for passing him the ball and if he didn't hit it, Bachira instead would get expelled. Bachira replies that he thought he would kick it, so he passed it, and tells Izagi that results are everything in the place. He tells Izagi that he believed him, so he won. Igarashi then voices out that it is nonsense from the beginning to the end. Hearing this, Ego agrees that it is nonsensical, but so is the world. Either you win or lose, and that while they are getting excited over mediocre successes, true strikers tread a path of winning or losing everything, every single day in order to keep on surviving. He then asks how it felt for them that they felt true danger, and tells them that the football they've played their lives are for weaklings, and tells the feeling of victory. Ego then declares that the remaining players have passed the entrance test and their room is designed for no more than 11 people, and the 11 players Jingo Raichi, Wataru Kyon, Okuhito Iman, Yudai Imamura, Asahi Narahaya, Jin Gagamaru, Girimu Igarashi, Hayome Chijiri, Rensuke Kunigami, Meguru Bachira, and Yoichi Izagi will be Blue Lock's Team Z. Team Z is doing their regimen, which includes running tests and jumping tests. After the training is meal time. Other players are already sleeping, but Izagi is seen too nervous to sleep. He then decided to practice, on which he encountered Bachira. They decided to play a one-on-one game. Izagi asks Bachira whether he passed to him, thinking that Izagi would get rid of Kira. Bachira responded that there is a monster lurking inside of him who said to pass to Izagi because he also has a monster inside him. Bachira told Izagi that he is glad he came to Blue Lock because he met him. All the players of Team Z were told to gather at the room for an announcement of rankings. Igarashi moved from 300 to 275. Izagi's rank moved from 299 to 274. Ego discussed the Blue Lock, in which it is arranged into 5 different strata, and here are 25 teams ranging from B to Z, with each set of 5 times in a stratum living in the same conditions. After the game of tag, there are only 275 players left. The first selection was then announced. Somewhere in Japan, the Football Journal is doing an interview on surprise star player Itoshi, a 17-year-old Japanese midfielder, who highly detests football in Japan. Though he has no interest in Japanese football, he already has a spot on the Japan national team, stating it's not important to him at all. Itoshi makes a bold declaration and promptly leaves the interview. It is revealed that Itoshi is only back in Japan to renew his passport, but while leaving the building stumbles upon a press conference for Blue Lock. Reporters bombard Henri and Hirotoshi with questions on the realism and reliability of Blue Lock, and Henri responds with confidence that Blue Lock will succeed and definitely fix Japan's broken soccer by creating a hero. This piques the interest of Itoshi. The first selection is explained in detail. It will be a round-robin tourney between the 5 teams of the 5th stratum, and only the top 2 teams will advance to the second selection. Another way to advance is to be the top scorer and most dominate player on your team. Tourney rankings are based on points that are awarded dependent on game outcome. A win is 3 points, a draw is 1 point, and a loss is 0 points. Also, the amount of points lost by is taken into account to rank teams with the same amount of points. Team Z is taken aback as they realize they will have to play together to advance, and then they start debating about who plays what position. Back in the conference hall, Henri talks about the history of Japanese football and how Japan has come so far and gotten so close to the World Cup but always comes out short. With Blue Lock, the dream of being the best in the world is officially revived. A hero must be born and they must lead Japan to victory. That hero will be born from Blue Lock, a facility packed to the brim with people who want nothing more than to be the best. At that moment, Itoshi tells his manager to cancel all his plans for he wants to see what kind of player Blue Lock can create.
Like and comment if you enjoy this video. Subscribe to my channel for more anime recaps, and tell me what anime recap you like to see next in the comments below.